In HANA 1.0 SP5, we introduced the capabilities of HANA Extended Application Services. This is basically an application server, web server, source code repository, and development environment all embedded within the HANA appliance. To support these new capabilities, we have also new tools added to the SAP HANA Studio. What you see before you is the SAP HANA Studio, probably as you know it today in the modeler perspective. Perspectives in Eclipse allow you to switch between different sets of tools that are designed for different roles. And in the modeler role, you have the ability to look at the SQL catalog and, for instance, perhaps see database tables that are available in your system. But you also have access to the HANA repository via the content folder. This is where we can create packages and create various HANA specific views, privileges, SQL script procedures, and new in HANA 1.0 SP5 decision tables as well. However, everything that we're going to talk about in this e-learning series revolves around the new XS development capabilities. For this, we have a whole new set of tools as well as a new perspective. So we'll switch to the SAP HANA development perspective. And right away, we see that we still have the navigator view and the ability to look at catalog objects and our content repository. We have several other tools here as well, the SAP HANA repositories and the Project Explorer. What I'd like to talk to you about right now is how that we can create projects, development projects, that are attached to the SAP HANA repository and are available for various types of XS-based development. After we go over the basics of creating a project, then we'll go into some of the more specific project types that are new and support various development aspects of SAP HANA Extended Application Services. So we can still start with the navigator view and go to the content folder that shows us our HANA repository. All of the new XS artifacts that we create will also be managed by the HANA repository and stored in a package. So maybe we go ahead and begin the process by creating a new package here in the navigator view. And I have a lot of packages in this system, so I'll perhaps give this a name that makes it easy for the purposes of what we want to show here. And this will be my root package that I'll do everything in. Now you remember, we can't just say new and choose the artifact type. The new XS-based artifacts require more integration with Eclipse. We'll use some of the standard Eclipse editors and tools, as well as new tools that we've added to Eclipse, but everything will be source code based editing. And therefore we need an Eclipse project, and we need to be able to work with files locally on our local file system. And to do that, we need to interact with the HANA repository in a way that allows us to check out and check in content. So we need to go to the SAP HANA repositories view, and we will create a new workspace. Now we only have to do this once when we first set up a new system or install the HANA Studio on a new machine. What we're doing here is we're really creating a connection to the HANA server, and we're creating a corresponding workspace on our local machine. So it already defaulted to C:\workspaces. That's a directory that I've already prepared on my local desktop. So it's where I store all my HANA workspaces. And I'll go ahead and give this a workspace name, Access Video. So I could give it any name I want. And it will create the workspace on my local system, and at the same time it's also connecting up my login information So my username and password as it corresponds to this system. And if we expand the workspace, we see all of the packages that we saw in the Navigator content view. If I go to my file system and look in this workspaces, you'll notice that there's a new directory for this particular workspace, and there's no content in it yet. If I want to begin to work with a package, so I created this A1 videos package in the previous step. I have a package ready to store all my content. I want to then create a project within that package that's already exists. I need to check it out. So I can come here and I can say check out. That package will now be represented in my file system, in my workspaces, as a folder. So now I want to create a project, and this is going to be a normal Eclipse project. So I could say File, New Project, and I can choose my project type. Now there's a couple different ones that we'll work with, and we'll talk about the various different projects as we get into the different development types. But for now, let's just choose the basic XS project. And it will ask me what I want my project name to be. It doesn't matter what I name it. And now I have a project, and it's created locally on my file system of my desktop machine, but it is not in any way connected to the server yet. And it's also not in my workspace, not in my HANA workspace. It's not showing up here anywhere. It would be in my Eclipse workspace. So the next step, I need to share this project with the HANA server. So I have to know which HANA server it's going to be associated with, which repository it's going to be checked into. And I do that by right mouse clicking on the project, saying Team Share Project. And you can have multiple repository types installed in Eclipse. So we get the SAP HANA repository by default. And then it brings up a page that says, okay, which repository workspace do you want to connect this to? Well, I only have created one, but of course you could have multiple different systems that you're working with, and then you would have a drop-down list box. You'd choose which repository workspace you want to connect to, and therefore which HANA system you're connecting this project with. It's pretty straightforward for me because I only have one set up on this particular system. And then you have to choose the path within the workspace. So this is where I'm basically choosing which package I want to create my content in. So I'm going to choose this A1 Videos folder in my workspace, which corresponds to the A1 Videos package in the repository, and then this project and all of its content will be checked in to that package. And you have a choice here. You can say keep project folder. Now, if you leave this selected, what it will do is it will take the project name, whatever you name the project, and it will append it to the end of the workspace path, and it will therefore create a sub-package in the repository. Now, for this particular case, I don't really want I don't want a sub-package with the name of my project. I already pre-created a package where I want to put my content, so I just uncheck that. But that can be a nice option if you create multiple projects within one package to automatically structure sub-packages that match up with your project names. But for this, my root project in my root package, I don't really need that functionality. So I'll go ahead and finish it, and this will connect the project to the HANA server and the HANA repository. And although I don't have any content in it, I have a project that's ready to go. Of course, at this point, I can create any new type of file I wanted. Let's just say new other, and I could choose from a series of different types of files. Of course, we'll talk about what some of these very specific file types are, like JavaScript source files and whatnot. But maybe right now, I'll just create a general file, and just a test.text. Nothing very important at this point, just to show you a little bit of the project process. Everything is done via source code files. So all the development artifacts are files, and this file is simply created locally on my local file system once again. Maybe I'll just type in something here, hello world. I save this, and when I save it, it is once again just creating the file in my local file system, test.text. I can see it from here, from the file system. It's got the same content in it. Nothing's been sent to the HANA server yet. At this point, I can right mouse click on the project and say team commit. This will commit all the resources in this project back to the server and store them in the HANA repository. However, they will be stored in an inactive state. So notice the icon has changed, or the decorator on the icon. It went from the uncommitted decorator to now it shows that it's been stored in the repository, but it's inactive. The little gray diamond means it's inactive. So if I were editing something that already existed on the server, inactive would mean the old version would still be what would be executed if the however this artifact executes, accessed over the web or executed in some other way. But I have my new version also stored in the repository, and of course the HANA repository has full source code management capabilities like reverting versions, doing merges if there are conflicts. But this is very simple. I've got a new file here. I've just typed hello world into it, so I want to activate it. So I would say team activate. And now the content icon has changed once again. We have the little golden cylinder that would denote that this is active. Likewise, we can go back to our repository view, and we'll see that the content shows up here as well. That means it's stored on the server. So the Project Explorer shows you the content on your local PC, but also tries to show you via icons the status of how that's synced to the server. And the HANA repository view will show you only what's available on the server. So I've shown you the basic creation process for a new project, but what happens if I'm a developer who's coming along a few weeks later and wants to make changes to an existing project? I would not necessarily have the project folder locally and know the project type and everything. So I want to show you how we deal with that situation. So let me first unshare this project. So that breaks the connection between my local file system version and the version on the server. And then let me go ahead and delete it. So to be as though I never had this project on my machine. In fact, if I come back out to the file system, you'll see it's completely gone. So I'm simulating a different user, a different developer from a different machine coming along at a later time who wants to now edit this project. Well, you'll notice if I go to the repository view, and even if I refresh it, all the content's still there. So even though I deleted it locally, it didn't remove it from the server. And now I would use a different option. I would say check out and import projects. So in this case, once a project has already been created, and I know there's one there because I can see the .project file in the repository, I have the option to say check out and import project, and it'll be a little different than what happened before. Now it will bring all the content down to my PC, but it will also create the initial project in Eclipse for me, do all the sharing, and choose the project type that was selected by the original developer. So everything's set up and ready to run exactly as it should be. So it's bringing down all the content to my local machine again. Once all the content is available locally, then it scans it. It sees that there was a project, There could be multiple projects if it looked into subdirectories, sub-packages, and so more project files. You choose which projects you want to import. I only have the one, so I'll go ahead and leave that selected. Say Finish. You notice that it's sharing the projects. So you see it's already visible here in the Project Explorer, and it's just completing the sharing project to connect it to the HANA repository. And we notice the icon changed to the little orange cylinder. So now we know that it is connected to the repository, and it's all ready to go. It's the XS project type. You can see that from the little icon as well. So it's brought down the project nature and the project type correctly, connected it to the HANA repository, and I'm ready to develop. I've got the content as it was last checked in, and now I can start making changes or extensions to my project.